So good evening, afternoon even. It is afternoon, isn't it? It's fast approaching 7 minutes after 4 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GBNews on TV, online and on digital radio. My God, Dominic Raab has come out of his shell and is finally doing something. After his embarrassing episode as Foreign Secretary when he stayed on holiday at the start of Joe Biden's chaotic withdrawal of Afghanistan, he's resurfaced as the Justice Minister, and it appears he's taking ownership of the worrying erosion of freedom of speech. He said, "I feel very strongly that the parameters of free speech and democratic debate are being whittled away, whether by the privacy issue or whether it's wokery and political correctness. I worry about those parameters of free speech being narrowed." Finally. Take the case of Meghan Markle and the Daily Mail as an example of this whole privacy thing happening. Unelected judges deciding what the parameters of privacy were without the approval of Parliament. Whilst there's no suggestion that they were not within their rights to do this, it's easy to see how this erosion can occur. And we see it happening on a daily basis. I mean, take the transgender conversation. Kathleen Stott being cancelled for daring to express the biological sex in her eyes, transgender, rather than those who disagreed accepting that this is a common view and that opening it out to debate would actually create a wider understanding of their perspective. She was effectively cancelled, and an attempt to silence and deplatform her led to her leaving her post. Attempts to cancel comedians and comedy in general have become commonplace. Remember Father Ted? I used to love that show. It was great, wasn't it? Its creator said that he had been effectively cancelled and that the trans activists had cost him his family and his marriage. Rosie Duffield with a reference to women having a cervix, a perfectly correct and reasonable comment, which left her in fear of her safety, and she didn't want to attend her own party conference. J.K. Rowling was vilified by the transgender lobby for expressing her concerns over the erosion of women's rights, which, ironically, Vladimir Putin, who is the perfect example of why freedom of speech is important, decided to use her in his example. He claimed that the West were cancelling Russia in the same way J.K. Rowling was being cancelled, which is frankly laughable if it wasn't so scary. You can see why he hates the concept of freedom of speech, though. It challenges his very existence, and in that environment, his propaganda machine simply wouldn't work. And in Russia, people are afraid to speak out against their war with Ukraine, and in fact, they're not even allowed to call it a war for fear of prosecution and imprisonment. Remember the brave Russian newsreader? She spoke up against it. Well, we haven't heard much more about her since that. But she did it knowing the consequences, and so we can only say she was extremely brave. Dominic Raab said, we will still be clamping down on those who try to use either media or free speech to incite violence, to radicalise terrorists or to threaten children. All of those safeguards will be in place. We've got to be able to strengthen free speech, the liberty that guards all of our freedoms and all our other freedoms, and stop it being whittled away surreptitiously, sometimes without us really being conscious of it. Bravo, Dominic.